Cropover 2011. It's our heritage. It's our culture. It's explosive color and pulsating rhythms. CBC TV8, right there with you this Cropover.
Authorities continue to battle a blaze at the Mangrove Pond landfill. Residents react to that latest fire. And in sports, Jack Warner is suspended from football's world governing body.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
A very good evening to you. I'm Sophia Cambridge with this Sunday, May 29th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, a fire at the Mangrove Pond landfill is 85% contained. Acting General Manager of the Sanitation Service Authority, Stanton Allen, told CBC the blaze, which started last night, should be fully contained within the next couple of days. Mr. Allen says over 600 loads of dirt was used to smother the flames. In the meantime, Senior Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Elizabeth Ferdinand, says the Accident and Emergency Department at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital has not reported any increase in asthmatic or respiratory cases. Chief Fire Officer Wilfred Marshall says they're anticipating a number of hot spots to develop over the coming days, and they're standing by to douse the areas with brackish water. Officials from the Sanitation Service Authority spent the day battling the massive tire blaze, which started around 7 o'clock last night. Our Lisa Lord has the full story.
Trucks from the Sanitation Service Authority, supported by construction firm C.O. Williams, have been trucking dirt from a nearby quarry in an effort to quell the flames. The fire, which has so far been contained to the tire section of the Mangrove landfill, also placed the Environmental Protection Department and the Ministry of Health on alert due to the type of hazardous material involved. Senior Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Elizabeth Ferdinand, told CBC News last night that the Accident and Emergency Department of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital was on alert for possible cases of respiratory distress.
We're expecting that, as we can see, fumes of heavy black smoke is being emitted. Now, smoke does have an effect on lungs, and of course, asthmatics come to mind right away, small babies and asthmatics. And so I'm advising that if you're an asthmatic and you live below the fire area, that you should probably just monitor the situation.
Again, as a result of the type of material involved, fire officials are unable to use water. Environment Minister Dennis Kelman, who was on the scene, explained why dirt must be used instead.
Adding water to this fire might cause some toxicity. What we are expected here to do is the necessary equipment to dump the mold to be able to cut off the fire and to ensure it does not spread beyond the tire boundary.
But the fire service was still on hand to ensure the fire didn't get out of control. The last fire at the dump was back in 2009, and Chief Fire Officer Wilfred Marshall says during that blaze, access to the area was better, but getting to this one was a bit more problematic. He was, however, unable to say exactly when they would be able to completely extinguish the fire.
It's burned up a pretty wide area. I wouldn't like to give the way the guys are working now, I anticipate that sometime tomorrow we should have this under control. There might be some spot burning.
To facilitate those residents who were affected, shelters were opened this morning at the Welches and Good Shepherd primary schools. Lisa Lord, CBC News.
Thank you, Lisa. And Minister of Home Affairs, Adriel Brathwaite, has expressed concern that a fire of this scale seems to recur every few years at the Mangrove Pond landfill. He's suggesting that agencies have to sit down and put their heads together to see how they can avoid a recurrence. The minister has given the assurance that containment efforts will be ongoing and that teams will continue to work throughout the night to extinguish the fire and bring the situation back to a state of normalcy. Meantime, residents of Arch Hall say they are fed up with the environmental challenges posed by the Mangrove Pond landfill. The current fire at the garbage disposal site has further reinforced the residents' plea for something to be done about the site. Sunday activities in Arch Hall were postponed as thick smoke travelled downwind from the dump, filling the air with the smell of burnt rubber. When the CBC News crew visited residents, they all agreed that the landfill should either be shut down or relocated.
Imagine this morning that we at church, people couldn't even worship properly. People had to leave church because of all this smoke. This is ridiculous. Something needs to be done about this.
What do you think should be done?
It should be moved. For years now we've gone through this.
I actually have a friend, his grandmother have to leave the neighborhood because she have a very serious problem with asthma. I think that something needs to be definitely done about the situation. It's too long. It's not only this situation in fire, but the smell is really affecting neighbors.
When the wind shifts, we are in trouble. They need to do something. We need to know if they will put us up for days, whatever. We can't be sitting in this smoke all the time like this. It seems as though nobody cares about us. And as I keep saying, this dump is not being properly handled at all. I mean, when you pass it, the stench is coming down. Now today we are in the midst of this smoke.
It's affecting me very badly because we can't even talk or open my house.
Earlier, officials from the Sanitation Service Authority and workers from C.O. Williams Construction were trying their level best to contain the blaze. Chairman of the St. James Central District Emergency Organisation, Selwyn Brooks, said the incident at the Mangrove Pond landfill had the potential to escalate and to affect residents even more seriously.
From my visit through the area this morning, persons were seen washing down the carbon deposits that would have resulted from last night, and 1-2 people had indicated of itchy throats, burning eyes, which are the kind of symptoms you would associate with what is actually happening here last night.
What are the communities that would have been affected mostly by this fire?
Any community downwind. So we started from Arch Hall, and there's more likely as far down as the Goldtown Police Station, Sunset Crest, Sandy Lane. Any of the surrounding districts in that catchment area could easily have been affected.
Well, we'll have more on the evening news in just a moment. Acting Prime Minister Ronald Jones says the ruling Democratic Labour Party needs at least 3 terms to fulfil its manifesto promises. Mr. Jones was speaking during his Christchurch East Central constituency's annual luncheon at the Almond Bay this afternoon. Several long-standing members of the party were recognised for their contributions to trade unionism, medicine, education, manufacturing and volunteerism.
People of Barbados, only on the 15th of January, 3.5 years ago, relate that to a young child, and Dr. Hines will tell you at 3.5, even though a young child is very sentient, they know, they're smart, that young child is still a toddler. And this government is still a very young government. No government for 3.5 years can do everything that it has promised in its manifesto. A government needs at least 15 years.
Mr. Jones says with the general election less than 2 years away, the DLP has a record 27 prospective candidates waiting to represent the party.
They have all put forward their names to run in the next election for the Democratic Labour Party. In fact, I believe we have over 20-something odd candidates who put forward their name for the 7 available seats.
Minister of Transport and Works John Boyce says changes have been made at the Transport Board in an effort to meet some of the fiscal targets. Speaking at the Christchurch South Constituency Branch's annual dinner and awards ceremony, Mr. Boyce says there has been some success in their effort to enhance the quality of services.
We need to ensure that the monies that we ask of central government do not continue to be the exceeding burden on central government that they have been. So we need to create innovative ways in which we can manage the business of the Transport Board.
Mr. Boyce also says they'll have to address piracy in order to facilitate growth at the Transport Board.
As we continue to improve the delivery of service of the Transport Board, to make the service that they offer attractive enough for the public to make a decision, a conscious decision to leave their vehicles at home, for instance, and travel by public transport, we must ensure that all these issues which cause us problems and which erode at the profitability of the Transport Board are eliminated.
In other news, President of the Barbados Bar Association, Andrew Pilgrim, says the Barbados Evidence Act should be enforced. He says it would protect both the accused and the police by recording proceedings when an individual enters the police station. Speaking at the Justice Mediation event at the ICOBI Centre, Mr. Pilgrim spoke on a number of legal matters, including the correct procedure for warrants and different sections of the law. He says, however, Barbados is lagging on the world stage on the Protection Acts, and he's advised both the police and the public to push ahead.
The greatest flaw in our legal system as it stands today, as far as I'm concerned, is I can't prove what happens to me when I'm with the police, and they can't prove what happens to me when I'm with them.
Mr. Pilgrim says both police and accused may stretch the truth in their favour, and therefore efforts must be made to ensure the rights of both parties. Well, Shane Jones will be along shortly with the Sunday Sports Package.
Hey, good evening. I'm Shane Jones with the Sports News. Now, it was the kind of day that FIFA could have done without. Investigations into bribery allegations against him have been concluded. The decision was taken after Warner appeared before FIFA's Ethics Committee to answer a charge that he was involved in a scheme to bribe Caribbean Football Union members to vote for Mohammed bin Hammam ahead of a meeting this week to elect a new president for the organization. Bin Hammam, who was the only candidate scheduled to challenge Sepp Blatter's FIFA presidency, has pulled out of the race and has also been provisionally suspended. FIFA boss Sepp Blatter also appeared before the committee, but was cleared of any wrongdoings on the issue.
Therefore, the committee is satisfied that in respect of Mr. Sepp Blatter, President of FIFA, the Article 129 threshold, which suggests does there appear to be an infringement of the Code of Conduct, had not been met, and therefore no investigation is warranted or will be continued by the committee against him.
Cricket news now. Chris Gayle will not be considered for selection to the West Indies team before an intended meeting with himself, the selection committee, the West Indies Cricket Board's management and the West Indies team management. This after the WICB released squads for the Digicel Pearls T20 and the first two one-day internationals against India starting on Saturday. So the T20 squad reads Darren Sammy captain, Christopher Barnwell, Devendra Bishu, Darren Bravo, Andre Fletcher, Danza Hyatt, Ashley Nurse, Ravi Rampal, Andre Russell, Marlon Samuels, Kishmar Santoki and Lendl Simmons. And the team for the first two one-dayers is Darren Sammy captain, Dwayne Bravo his vice, Carlton Baugh, Devendra Bishu, Darren Bravo, Kirk Edwards, Anthony Martin, Kyron Pollard, Ravi Rampal, Andre Russell, Marlon Samuels, Ramnaresh Sarwan and Lendl Simmons. This evening's release stated that Kemar Roach is being rested for the Trinidad leg of the series, while Dwayne Bravo and Kyron Pollard are not eligible to represent the West Indies in T20 format, as they did not take part in the last edition of the Caribbean T20. Meanwhile, on the international scene, Upal Tharanga, the Sri Lankan opening batsman, will face an ICC inquiry after testing positive for a banned substance during the 2011 World Cup. The cricketer is reported to have tested positive for a drug that is used to treat asthma, a condition from which he is said to suffer. Sri Lanka's Cricket Interim Committee Secretary denied any knowledge of the incident. The ICC refused to make an official commitment about the case. 3 victories greeted the third and final day of the second series of matches in the Lime BCA Division 1 competition. The first win came at Bank Hall when the BDF Sports Program upset home team ICBL Empire by 6 wickets. Scores: Empire 119 and 187, BDF 168 and 139 for 4. Andy Thornhill reports on the Empire innings.
Empire started the day with 104 runs in the lead. That's Sean Graham, who was not out 8 overnight, getting after the bowling, goes through mid-wicket. Lovely shot by Bernardine, chased by Ravindra Prasad into the road. Looks pretty dirty at this moment. Some attention from his teammates. Apparently, in the end, it wasn't as bad as originally feared. Lifted off by some friends. Empire in need of runs and more runs. Continue to pile them up. This was the key wicket of Sean Graham. Balloons in the air and an easy catch. He goes. More trouble would come. Brilliant catch by Lorando Best. Jabari Maskell goes the final wicket. He's gone for 5. Target now to win 139. Andy Thornhill, CBC Sports.
Thanks, Andy. Well, at the Desmond Haynes Oval, Shane Ramsey's 7 for 52 guided CGI Maple to a comprehensive victory over Tally Barbados Carlton. Scores there, Carlton 160 and 141, Maple 254 for 8 declared and 50 for 1. Meanwhile, BNB St. Catherine registered a home triumph against Lyme by 7 wickets. Scores in that game, Lyme 166 and 127. Derek Bishop got 4 for 39. St. Catherine 248 for 7 and 46 for 3. Scores in other drawn games at Beccles Road, YMPC 131 and 169 for 5. Sagicor UWI 213 and 167 for 4. Guardian General Barbados Youth 206 and 256 for 5, with Neil Brown getting 109 not out. Pickwick 256. And at Banks, the home side 237 and 195 for 1. Carlos Brathwaite made 132. Supercenter Spartan 266 and 76 for 4. Well, action continued today at the 20th Annual Aquatic Center International Meet. Take a look at some of the races in the 50-meter butterfly.
Heat 2 of the girls 8 and under 50-meter butterfly, a field of 8 swimmers in the middle of the pool. No one was going to catch Danielle Titus of Alpha. She won it in a time of 40.51 seconds. Second was Ashley Weeks, also of Alpha. It's timed finals, and Clea Mears, who swam in heat number 1 for Pirates, got the 3rd spot. Time for the boys' equivalent. Check out lane number 4. Ethan Elliott out front and center. He won in a time of 40.59 seconds. Next to touch the wall was Alpha's Encosti Dunwoody, while Pirates' Jaden Little got 3rd. Moving on to Heat 3 of the 9 to 10 girls. Record held by Sabrina Holder in this one. Looking to be a close one too, but Kendi Bino in the pink cap of Alpha edged out teammate Destiny Harden and Jada Chai. Heat 4 of the 9 to 10 boys. Full field of 8 in this one. Big battle on between Pirates' Louis Sebastian Weeks in the white cap and Damon St. Prix of Alpha. Weeks would get there first in 33.46 seconds. St. Prix in second on 33.87, and Corby Talma was a distant 3rd in 37.15.
Well, that's it for sports. Carry On is up next with the weather.
Good evening. Cloudy skies along with showers prevailed in Barbados today. The maximum temperature was 30.7 degrees Celsius, the minimum 23.4 degrees. At 6 o'clock, the temperature stood at 28.8 degrees Celsius, the relative humidity 77%, and the winds coming in from the east-southeast at 24 kilometers per hour. We take a look now at our satellite photo, where a tropical wave moved just to the south of Barbados today, generating cloudy skies along with showers here in the island as well as over the southern Windward Islands. Now, that tropical wave, along with the intertropical convergence zone, maintained showers and thunderstorms over the Guianas. As for the Leeward Islands, they came under the influence of the high-pressure system, maintaining fair skies there. The seas moderate in open water with swells peaking at 2 meters. For us here in Barbados tonight, we're expecting mostly fair skies. Come early tomorrow morning, though, we're expecting a few scattered showers. Thereafter, mostly fair conditions can be expected. Over now in the Western Caribbean, a trough system there maintained cloudy skies along with showers over Jamaica, Hispaniola, Puerto Rico, and also southern Bahamas. And the high-pressure system did the opposite, fair skies for northern Bahamas and also sections of Cuba. We move now to the forecast. The sun is expected to rise at 5:31 and set at 21 minutes after 6. The first high tide at 1:37 in the early morning, the first low at 21 minutes after 8 in the morning. The seas moderate in open water with swells peaking at 2 meters. The winds coming in from the east-southeast to the east at 15 to 35 kilometers per hour. Barbados tonight will be mostly fair. Come tomorrow, a few brief early morning showers will be displaced by mostly fair conditions. Over the southern windwards tonight, it will be partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy with some scattered showers. Tomorrow, it will be mostly fair. Elsewhere tonight will be fair to partly cloudy with brief scattered showers. We leave you now with some forecast weather conditions.
Well, it's time for us to say goodnight. On behalf of the entire crew, thanks so much for joining us this past half hour. Have a delightful week ahead.